Hello, everyone. So today I want to discuss the topic of antinatalism and capitalism. Um, because I've been seeing a lot of discourse online recently where people try to argue that the reason antinatalism has any popularity right now is because of the inadequate material conditions offered to us by our capitalist world order that we live under. So yeah, they're arguing like just like material cause and effect. Like if people had good material conditions, they would be happy to live, and then they'd want to procreate or something, so that their children could be happy to live. I don't know, whatever they think. But my argument and what I want to make this video about is the idea that no, the poor material conditions under capitalism is not what leads to antinatalist ideology. And antinatalist ideology, I would argue, has existed before capitalism, and it would exist in communism, and exists outside of economics. Really, well, not I don't know how vague that is, but it's I don't think it's really limited to like an economic system. I think it gets at more fundamental things than that. So yeah, that's what I'm going to argue today. That antinatalism is not a product of the failures of a capitalist world. Like it's not a ideology out of failed material conditions, or poor material conditions. And I would say that I think I want to write an article about this eventually and like release it on Substack or something. So that'll probably be more detailed. But this is just like a layover of my thoughts currently on the topic. And sorry it was cut off because I didn't crop the whole thing. All right, intro. Are the poor material conditions of a capitalism the source of antinatalist ideology? So as I said, people were antinatalists before capitalism. Communism doesn't provide solutions for many of the issues held by antinatalists. Many arguments for antinatalism are non-material. All right, people who were antinatalists before Marx. I'm just using his name. Obviously, like collectivist ideology existed before him and whatever. All right, so people who were antinatalists before Marx. So the first person I want to talk about is Buddha. Now he obviously wasn't an antinatalist because he didn't really like. I don't know. He didn't really preach like abstaining from procreation. He kind of argued that like you just have to escape the cycle of death and rebirth to reach nirvana, which basically means like escape being born, because his premise with being born was bad because life is inherently suffering. That's the noble truth of Buddhism, I think. So, he didn't have a positive view of life, and that's not antinatalist, but it's like basically like prototype antinatalist kind of. It's more like spiritual, metaphysical. Other people I talk about, let's see, Schopenhauer. He argued like I guess I want to talk about him because he argued like life was like a structural failure. Like I think he kind of brought up the idea that like you have to like the will to live is irrational, and like you're just born with endless desires that you have to try to fulfill, which leads to just more desires, and it's just a never-ending like cycle of trying to not be deprived of your desires and deprived of feeling good. Or you're just trying, like, it's an endless. And so that, and then the third, like we talk about Benatar. I know obviously he lived after Marx, but I needed to transition. Other thing, like they argue that like life in the human species lack meaning, and thus try to find meaning in our existence when there isn't any, or thus we try to find meaning in our existence when there isn't any. So that results in things like ideology, religion to justify our own existence, like incentive structures around those. And then Benatar discusses the circular and generally meaningless nature of collectivism. So I found a passage from his book, The Human Predicament, where he, I think, articulates this well. He says, quote, "The point can be expressed another way. I may derive some meaning from helping another person, and that person may derive some meaning from helping a third person, but that provides no point to our collective existence. We can still say that human life in general is meaningless subspecies I don't know what word he uses, artinatus? I guess that's probably Latin. There would be something circular about arguing that the purpose of humanity's existence is that individual humans should help one another. Moreover, even if an individual human's life has some terrestrial meaning, perhaps by helping others, it does not follow that that individual's life has some significant cosmic meaning." And I think that's what I think that's interesting because, yeah, like in theory, like communism in some way is collective, and it's just like we should all help each other because collective action, helping each other, like lifts us all up, or rising tide lifts all boats, kind of. But it's like I like that. There's limits to that. It's not like like the things humans can give me are inherently good enough to make my life worth living or make me happy I was born or think my life is meaningful. Like, I don't know. So, and yeah, and like even if we all like improve our standard of living, there's no meaning. We just improved our standard of living. It's not like our existence and like in the grand cosmos and perpetuation of our species means anything. We're still just like, you know, like physical vessels for perpetuating our genetics. There's no meaning to our existence still. So I think that's kind of the big thing when we're talking about like antinatalism and communism, because like yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of things like, and these are the things I kind of took from that like I think would be like still issues if we did like a more communist world. Like passion and talent aren't correlated. Like communism tries to give you a lot of time off from work and money to like develop your passions and stuff, but you can still just not be talented, and then you won't, because you still have to like, the point is like stand out with like, do your passions, get good at them so you can stand out, but like if you're not talented, that's just never going to work. And there's loneliness. Like I know they argue like third places, but you can only get so far with that. And I don't know. I don't know. I think like humans are good collectively in like producing things and working together to produce things and like stuff. But when it comes to like actually like understanding each other, I think that's kind of I don't actually know if we can really like, I feel like that's some false hope that we're all going to understand each other. Maybe not. Maybe we'll get close, but I don't know. Because Schopenhauer talked about that too. He said like collectivism was a false promise because there was like individual peoples and their wills were too distinct and there would just become too, and if you tried to like put them together in a collective, there would just be too much overlapping conflict, and for there to be like a collective will, it's too much of denial of individuality. Yeah, so those things lead to like lack of meaning, because it's just like you just exist to, like, I don't even know. And then deprivation of desire, which we talked about earlier. Like you can try to like, you don't really choose what you desire, but once the desire is there, it's like kind of on you to fulfill it or deal with it. And if you can't, like that's easier said than done. Sometimes you can't, and it's just perpetual sadness. Yeah, I don't know. So I think those would be some of the big issues that would lead people to antinatalism still, or lack of meaning in the human species and life, if we even did like overthrow the capitalists or whatever. Not we, but if someone. And so yeah, because I hear a lot of like in the Soviet Union, they did the whole thing, I think, where you had to like take a test, and then whatever you like, that would determine what job you did. But that's circular, because it's like, isn't that just the world and the image of whoever designed the test? Like, you're just like who are you sure? Like, how do we know? I mean, obviously they had like, I don't know, like you could write to like the factories and complain about like the shoe sizes and stuff, and like, because it was like they were still like trying to build for the people, but it wasn't like, it's still circular to some extent. Because I'm not about to argue that like communism or like the Soviet Union wasn't good at like producing things, because I think it did, and I think it helped improve the standard of living for its people. But that's not the same as consumerism and supply chains and producing commodities equals life has meaning, right? So I don't know. Yeah, because even in, like I said, like even in the Soviet Union, if you had to like take a test and that determine what your job is, like if you just don't like what you're good at, like it's over. Like you're just producing things for, I guess, other people to like. But then what if they don't like what they're good at making? Then we're all just like they were just like, there's no like actual like, we're all just consumers then. We're not producers. We're all just making things for other people and not getting anything out of it ourselves. Because I think part of it is like, I want to be proud of the things I make, and I want like them to be a reflection of my values and the things I want to interject, or the values I want to interject in society. And that's kind of being denied there, isn't it? Like, like if I want to make art and have those values reflected in society, I'm not good at art, then it won't matter. Because I don't know. But yeah, thank you.